So what I want you to be able to do is with any type of media, whether it's pencil, colored pencil, marker, you want to be able to show a range of value. Value is what is going to show your range from really dark to light. And actually the white of the paper is what what the end part of that value scale is. So inside this little area that I've started working with, I'm trying to give edges to it. What I'm going to do is at the very end of it, it's actually the white paper that's showing through that is going to give you your whitest whites. All right, so let's look at Michael Myers, who I'm using for my example. In the picture, I have already outlined all of his details into my little opening of my carousel book. I also made sure that he is going to be touching the top of the image and the bottom. So inside here, if you look at his picture, Michael Myers, he's not just one straight, color. Even though this is a black and white image, what you're actually going to see is all of the dark shadows where the light source is coming from right behind him, and there's also a light source coming from the left side. I know that from where I see highlights. So what I'm going to be doing is using my pencil to shade just to get it started. I'm actually going to go in with a marker as well and use a different technique. So what I want you to be able to see is I don't want just an outline of Michael Myers. Anybody can go in and trace and give basic outlines as you see here. But what I want you to be able to do is show the different values that you see and start to make it look three-dimensional. So just using a standard pencil, I'm going to be kind of just doing the darker areas and then the lighter areas. And then I'm going to be going in with a marker and using another technique that I want everyone to learn about. That technique is stipple. So much like your value scale using pencil, I'm going to be using a marker to do a value scale using dots or stipple. So the bottom one, I apologize if I misspoke. I meant to call that a gradient value scale. And then up here is a stipple value scale where I'm making dots that are going to eventually, at the darkest area, you'll see very, very little of the white of the paper. And as you are working on your lighter areas, the dots become a little bit more spread apart. I have another example that's already finished that would be a good way to look at that value scale. So on here, what you can see is an ink stipple where you see very little black between those, or very little white between those dots, and they gradually spread apart until the very top where it's just the white paper showing through. So on these value scales, you also have hatching, and what you have is cross hatching, okay? When you're working with a person or an object, it's not angular so much, but more or less more gradient or gradual changes from dark to light. So what I'm going to be doing in mine is I'm going to start with pencil just to get it going. This is going to be called mixed media, where you have multiple different types of media to create value in an object. So what I'm using is graphite from a pencil and then ink. So that is also called mixed media. Now, when I'm using my pencil, and this is the same if you're using colored pencil, I try to use the side of the pencil and just kind of go in with those darker areas first. And then as I get to the lighter areas, I'm letting off of my pencil, okay? I'm not pressing as hard. But I'm also trying not to create pencil lines. I'm trying to use the side of my pencil, and it's the same if you're using colored pencil, which I'll demonstrate tomorrow. The idea is to start blocking in some of those darker areas. So when you're looking at the picture and comparing my drawing, the darker areas are over here on the right side of his body, and then you can see some highlights in his hand or his gloves that he's wearing. The darkest area is right here in the armpit and all around here. So you want to be able to identify that in an image. Before you even begin, you're kind of looking at it, where's the darkest areas at? And one of the easiest ways to get started is to bring in those dark areas right from the beginning. Now, I also made sure that when I was tracing my object or my person, that I'm making sure to get all of the wrinkles and details that I see. So he has somewhat of a belt that goes around this area. There's lots of different wrinkles and whatnot. Those tend to be the areas where you have a lot of shadows as well. So right now I'm just using my pencil to bring in some of those details right from the beginning. And already he's starting to have dimension. I'm starting to get rid of those outlines. Outlines are definitely something you see in cartoons, anime, and things like that. And that is a different style with those particular artists. So when you are working on something like this, you want to be able to, kind of go in and block in the areas that are dark using the side of your pencil instead of just focusing on outlines. Outlines are a great way to start, but that's also, going to be something that you want to get rid of. Those outlines are going to start to go away.